Hey everybody, August 4th. Zone 3B garden update. Here we go. Things are looking really good in the tomato bed. Peas are coming up well. I'm not seeing any peas yet on these. But all my volunteer tomatoes that I planted, well, most of them anyway, that are getting sun are doing really great. Some of these I got buried in aren't doing the greatest, but these indeterminates are just loving these cages. I haven't seen any signs of any disease or leaf spot, any sort of fungus, any yellowing or anything like that, so I'm really happy with this. This soil was basically almost all fresh manure last year. So it's really helping these plants out. And look at this one. So these cages are 5.5 feet tall because I took 6 inches to bury spikes into the ground. So if you're 5.5 feet, this is 6. So it's 6.5 feet, and I put this other one on there. I doubt it'll even fill it, but you know, we're at 1/5 of the way up already, so hopefully this it'd be awesome if it filled this whole thing by the end of the year, but I don't know. This one is a yellow pear. There aren't any yellow ones yet. I've only pulled 3 tomatoes, and my oldest daughter ate all 3 of them right away. They were the Taxi OG. But yeah, this one's my pride and joy right here. It's just amazing. But I do have a lot of tomatoes, all different kinds. Coming up, it's gonna be a lot of tomatoes. I think I used to plant tomatoes like 4 by in a row, like every square foot basically, and it's just too much. As long as I can get some good survivors, you know, through that initial cold that we always have up here. I think if you look at this, I mean, 2 by 2 really is all you need. I think it keeps them the healthiest. And I'm trying to do like as minimal amount of work as possible. I don't want to have to sit and prune every single day and constantly maintain a tomato vine. You know, everyone wants to get fancy with their tomatoes, but I think, you know, they're good as long as you can contain them, and I think these cages really do that. So I think from now on it's just going to be like 2 by 2 instead of just packing in as many as I can. I mean, this might be my best year for tomatoes. We'll have to see. The carrots are really producing. I've got a lot of beets that were really good size, but it seems like now a bunch of them are just kind of medium to small sized. But the carrots are really great. There's some real long ones I planted, some, I think they're called short and juicy, I planted. Been harvesting a lot of those. The basil, there's just so much of it, it's just it's gonna be one of those things I let grow and don't really use until I just rip it out and throw it in the compost. I'm sure, as much as I love pesto, I've already got about 400 cans of it. But yeah, these peppers are doing great. These tomatoes are doing great. I'm really surprised considering how late I planted these ones. It was when I got back from the Philippines I threw these in, and they're just doing phenomenal. If few different varieties here too. Yeah, I was doing the normal YouTube garden, watching YouTube videos at night, before I go to sleep, and came across this video by the Rustic Gardener about how to propagate strawberries. And before, I would just let the runners just kind of go, and then I would just stick them in the ground before everything freezes and stuff. But he said to put them in dirt so that they get a good root system, and then you can transfer them wherever you want. So that's the operation here. As these runners come out, I'm just putting them in dirt, and hopefully I get a good root system on them, and then I can put them wherever. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do with the strawberries. I think they might go in the back garden where the squash and zucchini are now. I might just turn that into a strawberry patch, because it really hasn't been too successful at helping me produce anything, because it's in ground and it's a lot colder in there. I think the strawberries will do fine though, and it'd be nice to have just a boatload of strawberries back there. It'd be great. And the old onions are coming to an end, but they're just looking great. I got really big red ones, which I'm kind of surprised by. A lot of times these are the smaller of the three that I generally plant. The white ones aren't that big, but there's a couple decent sized ones. And the yellow ones, I've already pulled a bunch of huge ones. These things just get really big compared to the other ones, so. A few more peppers here, all of them producing. They're not the biggest, but I think I'll have peppers here anytime. I'm still thinking that these late transplants I put in here, I might bring them inside the house once it starts to cool down. Put them under grow lights and see what they do. That would be the first time that I actually ever took anything inside. But we'll give it a shot. Gardening is an experiment every time, so let's have fun with it. My red cabbage here is doing really good. I harvested 3 cucumbers yesterday. Here's another one that's almost ready to be harvested. Lots of blooms. This one's going to just produce like crazy. Love it. There's some more peppers, all of them, if they're at the final stage of flowering, they're going to be producing peppers. Some of them already have peppers on them, little ones. So hopefully there's still enough time to grow. The only thing is these habaneros, I think I already saw flowers on them, so hopefully we get another good month and a half of growing temperatures. It just seems so nice here lately, so I'm hoping we get another month and a half. Looking at the forecast, we most likely will, but we'll just have to see. And these cucumbers I planted, they're really slow, but they're coming. They're just really slow. And here's some banana peppers that are looking nice. I've been tempted just to pull them because I love them, but I want them to get big this year. Yeah, the habaneros, I wish they would get a little bit bigger, but nothing yet. They're just kind of a bush type. Yeah, and what I was saying about what I learned about planting 2 tomatoes side by side. I think the maximum for the peppers is 3. Oh, and I didn't mention the mulch. Yeah, I threw some mulch down here. I'm I'm trying to go for mulching all my beds. This isn't a real thick layer. This is just some stuff I actually got at Walmart. I think it's a perfect size. We'll see how it breaks down, into next spring. But I wish I could get more, like ground up trees locally, and I'm gonna really start researching, where I can do that, whether here where I live or maybe in the adjacent town. Because everything that you see online is about, you don't just want wood, you want all the green leaves and pine needles and everything else too. So that's what I'm shooting for. It'll just really increase the quality of my soil. My cherry tree isn't growing as much as I thought it would. It did get damaged by a deer last year. So like this main leader, which I was planning on, growing everything off of, isn't going to be the main leader anymore. And then I got to try to figure out how I'm going to prune this exactly. But this is just a work in progress, especially with deer around. I got to pull these stakes up and widen the fencing, give it some more space to stretch out and protect it still. Same goes for the apple tree. I was expecting to see some apples. There's some sort of, I don't know what causes that. There are bugs. Kind of a weird leaf issue there. Just gonna pull that off. But yeah, this needs to be opened up and allowed to kind of spread out. These branches are almost sticking straight up now, but yeah, this tree and the cherry tree, this is an apple and the other one's a cherry I planted last year. They were donations, so that was great. Again, work in progress. And although extremely crowded, this garden bed is doing great. I've got peppers, peas, and asparagus. Asparagus is such a cool plant. I hope I can resist the temptation to overplant this little tiny garden bed here. I really want it to just be for asparagus. So in the next few years, I don't have to go get asparagus at Sam's Club or wherever. I can just always have it in my backyard when I want it. And so far, nothing in the mushroom garden. All these totems were producing for quite some time initially. Then I added all these here, basically new ones. The maple is shiitake, and all these other popple are supposed to be golden oyster, but none of those have produced. So I got all the inoculated sawdust from a place called North Spore. I think it's out of Massachusetts or something, for this second batch that I made, where all the ones that have produced for me I got from 100th Monkey Mushroom, and I don't know if they're just out of business anymore or what, but although it seems like all the ones that produced oyster are now producing turkey tail. And so I think the turkey tail kind of took over my totems. That might be what's happening with the other ones too, which is why they're not producing. I think there's a lot of competition for control over the totem going on, and they're just really not producing. I'm hoping that the oyster and the shiitake take over and produce for me, but I'm kind of skeptical at this point, but we'll just have to see how things go. Mushrooms are really the long game. Very long. And aside from the deer attacking my peas, I got tons of grasshoppers And I'm realizing this spot probably isn't the greatest for trellising. It only gets, you know, I don't know, maybe 6 hours of sun, and that may be enough, but with the temperature here, you know, only getting so many hot days and the rest kind of coolish, especially at nights, it really cools down. I have a feeling that it needs just full sun. So I got some other plans kind of in the works with where I'm going to put these next year, but for now, I'm getting a lot of green beans and purple beans and white beans. So far the peas, they're producing, but just not as much as like a couple years ago. And they got set back by the deer. But the dryer sheets and this fence and the vacuum and the motion lights and everything, I think is really staving off the deer for now, but we'll have to just see. All my cabbage is really coming into its own. These were all late plants. I kind of staggered my planting of cabbage. I've already pulled a couple heads that we've been munching on, so I have a feeling these will be right where I want them to be when I want them to be there. And my eggplants are looking pretty good. They could be better, but they're looking good for, you know, what's going on here. I've got some eggplants already setting in, which is nice. The broccoli, however, it's growing, but I haven't seen any florets or. And the Brussels sprouts, you know, I figured out last year I just kept breaking the leaves off and pruning them, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to let these grow, because I noticed wherever I broke the leaf off, the Brussels sprout's not growing. But wherever there's leaves, sure, there's a Brussels sprout. So I think the key with Brussels sprouts is really just giving them space and letting them just grow, and don't sit and try to over prune them. They say you can prune them at the end of the season, like they say like 30 days before the frost, and prune them real heavy, as long as you don't damage the sprout where the Brussels sprout comes out. Then that kind of shocks them, and then they just really increase their growth. But we'll have to see. This is a cabbage that I already harvested, and now I've got 4 mosquitoes. I've got 4 cabbages growing on it, which is pretty cool. My kale just always grows so much. Can't tell you how many times I've stripped this down to bare. It just keeps coming back. This thing's pretty cool. This is my motion detector sprinkler I got. Kind of faces the compost bin. There's this trail I got going down to the creek. But it already scared the hell out of my daughter. And that's enough. That scares them off. So say goodbye to skunks and raccoons, huh? And I don't know, maybe some of these smaller ones ended up being cantaloupe or something, which would explain why they're so small. But, you know, a typical Johnny Seeds packet, you don't even know what you're going to get, even if it says exactly what it is on the label. It just is the only explanation for why they're not growing, because they're probably melons, which really don't grow up here. I don't understand why they're not growing. All these other ones seem to be doing fine. And this soil is great for these. I made sure of it last year. But I've had plenty of zucchini already. I see I got one there I need to harvest. But otherwise, I mean, these are just great. I love these. Wife's gonna be making some zucchini banana bread pretty soon. Oh. And yeah, I know this video's getting long. But here's some more basil. I got a lot, huh? And some more of these peppers and some weeds. These are probably going to be some of the set that I bring in at the end of the year, because they're not gonna be big enough. And all my beautiful lettuce. I love you, lettuce. Well, if you guys got any advice or comments, let me know. Otherwise, have a great day.